All right, let's get right into it. We're about to unpack a wild story about how a precious metal, silver, and a powerful drug, opium, collided in a way that completely rewrote world history and brought one of the planet's greatest empires to its knees.
And it all starts with a really simple, almost absurd question. How could something as ordinary, as British, as a simple cup of tea end up being the spark that nearly destroyed the mighty Qing dynasty in China? Well, the answer is a crazy mix of economics, ambition, and a truly devastating addiction. To really get this, we've got to go back in time. We're heading to the 18th century, a period where China wasn't just a superpower, it was the superpower. No question about it.
This place was the center of the economic universe. The entire world was desperate for incredible Chinese goods. We're talking tea, silk, gorgeous porcelain. China was basically the workshop of the world, and they knew it. And this lays out the huge problem perfectly. You see, Britain had a massive, almost insatiable appetite for everything China made. But China, it was so self-sufficient, it had almost zero interest in anything Britain was selling. There was only one thing they wanted in payment: silver. And this wasn't just a preference. Silver was the very foundation of their entire economy. It's what they used for taxes, for trade, for everything.
So what was the result? Well, you can see it right here. A massive one-way flood of silver was just hemorrhaging out of Britain and straight into China's treasury. I mean, Britain was buying something like 20 million pounds of tea every single year. This imbalance, it just couldn't last. It was completely unsustainable.
So Britain decides it has to do something. And their first plan? Let's try to be civilized. Let's try diplomacy. They send a huge mission, led by a guy named Lord Macartney, to go negotiate better trade terms directly with the emperor himself.
Macartney shows up with a pretty clear wish list. He wants a permanent embassy in the capital, a dedicated trading base on the coast, and most important of all, he wants China to finally open up its markets to British goods. The goal was simple. Please start buying our stuff so we can stop this massive silver drain.
And Emperor Shanlong's response? Wow, it's captured perfectly in this quote. He basically told Britain, "Thanks, but no thanks. We have everything we could possibly ever need." The mission was a complete, humiliating failure. It was this incredible clash of two worlds that just could not see eye to eye.
Okay, so diplomacy is officially off the table. This is where British merchants, especially the super powerful East India Company, turned to a much darker solution to fix their trade problem. They found a product that, it turned out, the Chinese market couldn't resist: opium. They grew it in British-controlled India and then smuggled it into China in absolutely staggering quantities. Just look at this growth. It went from 1,000 chests a year to 40,000. It was an explosion. And in the process, it created millions and millions of addicts. So what happens when you flood an entire nation with an illegal, highly addictive drug? Well, the economic fallout was immediate and it was devastating.
And here it is, the great reversal. For the first time in centuries, the flow of silver completely flipped. All that silver that had been pouring into China was now pouring right back out to pay for all that opium. The British had solved their trade deficit, all right, but they did it by creating a massive social and economic crisis inside China.
So by 1839, the opium crisis had gotten so bad, the Chinese emperor just could not ignore it any longer. He appoints a special commissioner, a real hardliner, to go to Canton, the heart of the opium trade, and shut it down for good. This right here is what set the stage for war. And this guy, Commissioner Lin Zexu, he did not mess around. He moved fast and he was ruthless. He arrested over 1,500 local dealers. He basically put all the foreign merchants under house arrest and demanded they hand over every last bit of their opium. And when they finally did, he staged a massive public spectacle, destroying over 20,000 chests by dissolving them and flushing them out to sea.
Well, the news that all this British property had been destroyed was all the justification London needed to send in the warships. And as you can see here, this was never going to be a fair fight. China's military was still using old-school ships and guns, while Britain was armed with the cutting-edge technology of the Industrial Revolution. It was a total mismatch. And if you need one symbol of this incredible gap, it's this ship, the Nemesis. It was an iron-hulled, steam-powered gunboat. I mean, this thing could sail against the wind, against the currents. It could go up rivers where China's traditional ships couldn't follow. It was like a monster from the future, and it single-handedly tore Chinese defenses to shreds.
The war was shockingly fast.
And for China, absolutely devastating. They were completely defeated, forced to the negotiating table, and made to accept Britain's terms. This marked the beginning of a profoundly painful new chapter in their history. The result was this: the Treaty of Nanking, signed in 1842. And this wasn't just any treaty. It would become known as the very first of the unequal treaties, these one-sided agreements where a more powerful foreign nation would just impose its will on China.
And the terms, they were crushing for China. They were forced to open 5 of their biggest port cities to British traders, completely shattering their old controlled system. And on top of that, they had to give away the island of Hong Kong to Britain, in perpetuity, forever. Everything that Lord Macartney had failed to get through diplomacy, Britain now just took by force.
The Treaty of Nanking is seen today as the start of what is known in China as the Century of Humiliation. Think about that name. For the next 100 years, China was effectively carved up by foreign powers, unable to control its own destiny, and the memory of that humiliation, it has never, ever gone away. It is deeply ingrained in the country's identity, even now.
Which of course leaves us with this final, crucial thought. As China rises and reasserts itself as a global superpower today, you have to understand that this history isn't just a story in a book. It's a core part of its modern identity. It's the fuel for a national mission to build strength, to protect its sovereignty, and to ensure that this century of humiliation stays firmly and forever in the past.